Systemic racism exists in our schools, and something's got to be done about it. A study by the Lasalle Multicultural Resource Center found that Black students in Quebec are overrepresented in special education and behavioral classes. Researchers want the Quebec Education Department to recognize this and hopefully do something about it. GLORIA ANN COZIER is a psychotherapist and social worker. She co-authored this study. GLORIA, thank you so much for your time today. So you know firsthand in your line of work what is happening. Can you tell us a little bit about this research and what you have seen in your work?
Well, clearly this research certainly was, we actually decided it was time. Over the years, I have been in the social service system for over 20 years. And very interestingly enough, what we have realized, and we've seen right now, it's what has been happening for so many, many years, where Black students are identified as having learning issues, and they're streamlined into special education classes. Many of these students have been there since elementary, and now they're in high school special ed classes. In this research, what we found is that this is happening, and that they somehow seem to have no hope, these children, of actually leaving special education classes or even advancing to higher education, like going to college or to university. I remember in the sort of data collection hearing one student say to me, I can't go to college. They're telling me that I can't make it. And so there's that sort of disempowering, feeling that you're seeing, and for many of the children that we've interviewed. And that is highly concerning because when we look at it, it does not make sense that there are so many, I say racialized, but Black children that are in special education classes. And they're staying there, and when it comes to maybe going to college, we are seeing less and less of the Black children who are being motivated or encouraged to do so. So that's a major concern. And basically why this study was, LMRC decided to embark on a study like this is because they have been making several interventions with many students in the school sector, especially, I would say, the French sector, where many kids are, after maybe a year or so, not being able to grasp the language. Systematically, they are channeled into a special education class or a class for maladjusted children. And so that's been a major concern for us.
I'm stuck on this no hope. When you said they feel no hope, that is utterly heartbreaking to me to hear that they're marginalized to that point where they don't feel like they can have any kind of future that they would like to dream of, GLORIA ANN.
That's correct, yes. And that I have to tell you, when you listen to the students as they went through those speaking to us about their feelings and what they think can happen to them for the future, they have absolutely no hope. Many of them said, well, maybe I think I'm going to go into cooking or maybe a vocational class. Or, the other thing is that we've seen that some of them even drop out of high school and then they try to go back into the adult education classes. Now, if you look at the adult education class, again, you will see an overrepresentation of Black youths in those classes. So again, that's really very, very difficult to actually try to perceive what the future will hold for many of them. At the time when they return to the adult classes, of course, at that time, they are able to get into the English system. They are maybe, having a family, working, and so it becomes even more difficult for them to be able to complete and have a high school leaving diploma.
All right, I want to bring, it's upsetting to hear, and where do we go from here? I want to bring Dr. MYRNA LASHLEY in on this, Associate Professor in Psychiatry at McGill, also named Chair of the Lester B. Pearson School Board Task Force on Equity and Inclusivity. MYRNA, the first step, I guess, is getting the government to admit there's a problem. Then what?
That's exactly the issue. As long as they keep saying that there is no issue, then it's very difficult to motivate those under the government in any capacity, in any area, to do something about it, because the authority, the ultimate authority, is saying there's nothing to see here, just move along. And that's the issue with which I deal almost every day. I mean, I'm actually doing the same thing for the Wilfrid Lawyers School Board right now that I did for the Lester School Board, and we're going through this process. I think one of the things, I remember an incident in which someone said to me, there was a young man who had come from one of the Caribbean islands, and they just put him into remedial classes right off the bat. And I asked them, well, you see, the thing is, they couldn't understand his accent. So rather than putting in the work to understand, and this was a very, very bright child, they just assume, well, I can't understand him, so the problem must be his. And he was put into he was channeled. And we've got to get people to stop doing that. And to get away from the hegemonic norm of thinking that everything that is good comes through North America and Europe, and that other people have nothing to offer. And I don't want to take up a lot of time because I want to give my colleagues some time to talk, but I just want to support something which she just said, which is that when kids don't see themselves represented, it's very difficult for them to have hope. It's very difficult for them to think, I can do this, because there's nothing there which sends the message that they can. In fact, what they're seeing is, I can't, and no one who looks like me has ever achieved anything. So why should I try? What is there for me?
I just want to ask a question, Myrna, with respect to this study specifically. You know, it seems to me, and having read the piece, this has been going on for a long, long time, but it's only now kind of reached the surface where maybe someone in the government can actually go back and say, oh, look, now we have data to suggest this actually happens. But it's not new. You're kind of highlighting the fact that it's been going on forever. Did no one raise the issue before? Why is it just coming to the fore now?
Aaron, I submitted a report. I did this report. I did this research years ago. The data is out there.
I remember being a social worker at Batshall years ago. That was my first job after graduating from McGill. And there was something as a young social worker realizing when the files came across my desk, there were many kids who were black and they were going to a particular special education school. And I thought, well, this didn't make sense. I wanted to go and find out what's happening. And I walked into that school, and I couldn't believe there were 97% black kids in that school. And I thought, well, you know what? There's something wrong here, because all of them can have learning disabilities.
There you go.
And guess what happened, Dr. Lashley? You might not remember, but at that point I had this excellent supervisor who said, you know what? Do what you can at this point. And I had you assessed some of the students, but first I started with one who actually threw a chair at the teacher in that school because she says, well, I'm dumb, am I not? They told me I'm dumb, and I know I'm not. She had just came from a particular country and came from a rural area, and after 6 months they actually channel her into special education classes. And after you did the assessment, I realized before that this kid was a very smart kid. But here she came, and she was seen by a psychologist who actually provided her with a test that you know very well. We use the term Eurocentric in terms of what the expectations are that she should know. And that's how they evaluated her, that she had a learning disability. And I said, enough of this. I'm going to have her seen by a black psychologist and be reevaluated. And you did that evaluation, and I had her exempt immediately. I have to tell you, that kid did so well after so many years.
Oh,
that's wonderful to hear.
I've been talking this story very, very often, Dr. Lashley. Perhaps it's the first time you're hearing it.
But, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say, okay, and just said what you said there, Dad, you know, our kids, black kids, they are more likely to be harshly punished for minor infractions.
Yes.
They're identified as needing special education always, as we see very often, particularly in the French sector, and teachers often underestimate their abilities. And tell me, you know, when a child or a teacher doesn't believe in you, guess what? You are less likely to believe in yourself. And
absolutely.
That's what I've seen over the years with many of the kids.
Ladies, I'm going to have to stop you both because we're running out of time, but I'm glad you shared that story.
Wow.
And Myrna, obviously, it's obviously happy for you to hear of something that you had done that got someone out of that system, put them where they should be. But I'm going to ask you really quickly, just in summation here, we have the data. You said it's been there for a long time. What do you want to see get done now? Or are you hopeful the government looks at this and realizes, okay, we have to do something, or not?
I'm very hopeful that the government looks at it, but I'm more hopeful that the directors of the school do something about it, because they're the ones who can influence the minister, and the minister can influence his or her colleagues. I'm not hoping for the premier to do anything, because the premier has already said that systemic racism doesn't exist. Right. So this has to come from the bottom up.
Okay.
I want to say, maybe lastly, certainly racism hurts children, guys. Yeah. It's of course real and fundamental. There's so many fundamental ways it hurts children. They hurt just it hurts their health. It also hurts their chances for a good, successful life. So that's the bottom line for me. And for now, for me, I'm looking at this, that this is something that we need to have call to action right now. Enough is enough.
I couldn't agree with you more. I want to thank you both for your time today, and also just for the amazing work that you both do. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
You bet.
Okay, thanks for having us.
Thank you. That's GLORIA ANN COZIER and Dr. MYRNA LASHLEY.